The orbital hangar of Corval 3 always hummed like a tired old beast, metal plates rattling, coolant lines wheezing, and somewhere in the background a vending bot singing off-key because someone had spilled magnetic dust on its vocal coils. Rylan Ward dragged his broom across the floor panels, listening to that mechanical symphony with the weary acceptance of a man who used to fly starfighters and now swept under them. Every stroke of the broom felt like an insult sent directly from the universe, signed with a flourish. He muttered to the dirt as if it had personally wronged him, which, in a way, it had. Move, he grumbled at a stubborn pile of engine soot. Your rent's overdue. He jabbed the broom again. The soot did not comply. Once, long ago, not ancient history long, just 4 years and a horrible lawyer long, Rylan had been one of the Empire's finest engineers. Not a legend, but respected enough to be entrusted with experimental thruster cores. Then came bankruptcy, a chain reaction of misfortune that spread faster than hydrogen fire in a vacuum-sealed bar. Now he worked as a janitor because the hangar superintendent refused to believe veterans should waste away. Rylan privately suspected the man just liked free labor disguised as sympathy. Across the bay, a group of new recruits were arguing about who had to clean the sanitation drones after the next shift. When they spotted Rylan, they waved exaggeratedly. Hey, Ward. You missed a spot the size of a moon crater. That's because the broom's avoiding me, he called back. It has better career prospects. The recruits laughed. They liked him more than they should, considering he pretended not to like anyone. Humor kept them at a safe distance, that was intentional. Rylan had lost enough in the war, and the aftermath, that he refused to get attached to anything he couldn't take apart and fix. He bent down to sweep under a half-functioning maintenance pod when a voice drifted behind him, smooth and melodic. You're talking to the dirt again, Rylan Ward. Do humans normally negotiate with debris, or is that a hobby you picked up after losing your fortune? He smacked his head on the pod's underside and rolled out with a groan. Standing there was Lyra Vey, an Imperial liaison assigned to monitor hangar operations, which apparently included the emotional well-being of floor stains. She looked nearly human, save for the elegant, elongated ears that swept backward in a graceful arc. Her uniform shimmered with faint silver patterns that changed as she moved, a technology Rylan pretended not to secretly admire. Lyra, he said. Always a pleasure when you appear out of nowhere like a sarcastic ghost. Her lips curved. I made footsteps. You were simply too busy scolding Grime to notice. Grime listens better than most people, he shot back. And yet it still doesn't respect you. Rylan pointed at her with the broom. See, this is why we can't be friends. Agreed. I prefer acquaintances who don't threaten me with cleaning equipment. Their banter was familiar by now. Lyra spoke with the effortless elegance of someone raised in polished halls, but her humor, sharp, dry, was surprisingly compatible with Rylan's. She was one of the few who remembered he used to be something other than a man who fought eternal war against stains. How's your day going? She asked, tilting her head with exaggerated sympathy. Still fighting the noble battle against dust clusters. It's the closest thing to a promotion I've had in years. Comforting. Before he could respond, the entire hangar rumbled with an immense, rolling vibration. Tool racks clattered. Recruits stumbled. The vending bot stopped singing and instead emitted a sound like a panicked toaster. Rylan straightened, gripping his broom as alarms blared through the station. A red holobanner flashed across the ceiling, Imperial arrival, level 1 clearance. People scrambled into formation. Officers barked orders. Even the drones snapped into disciplined hovering patterns. Lyra's expression shifted, the playful sharpness replaced by something tense, focused. This isn't scheduled, she murmured. The Emperor doesn't make unscheduled visits. Rylan blinked. The Emperor? Here. What, did he lose his keys? No one jokes when the Emperor arrives. I do. Mostly out of fear. The hangar doors parted as a colossal shadow drifted into view, a sleek obsidian shuttle flanked by crimson escort craft. The vessel descended with regal precision, landing as if the air bowed for it. When the ramp extended, the atmosphere thickened. Emperor Salus stepped out, his presence like a gravitational force pulling every eye toward him. Rylan found himself unconsciously straightening his back, even though he was holding a broom and wearing a jumpsuit with a bleach stain shaped suspiciously like a bird. Imperial guards swept forward. Officers saluted. The Emperor ignored them all as his gaze scanned the hangar, cold and precise. Then it landed on Rylan. Lyra stiffened beside him. "Why is he looking at you?" "I probably tracked dirt somewhere important," Rylan whispered. Two armored guards marched toward him, boots echoing like drumbeats of doom. "Rylan Ward," one of them announced, "the Emperor requests your presence." "Mine?" Rylan squeaked. "You sure you don't mean the other guy holding a broom?" "There is no other guy holding a broom." "Exactly," Rylan muttered. "That's the problem." Lyra stepped forward slightly, her long ears angling in concern. "What would the Emperor want with you?" "If it's to execute me," Rylan whispered, "please tell him I prefer vaporization. I'm allergic to decapitation." "This is not the time to joke." "It's absolutely the time to joke. It's the only thing keeping my soul inside my body." The guards flanked him as if escorting a dangerous criminal, or an extremely confused janitor, and marched him toward the Emperor. Rylan tried to walk with dignity, but accidentally stepped on his own broom bristles and nearly face-planted. Lyra followed with quick, tense steps. "Your Majesty," she said formally, with respect, "why summon a hangar worker?" The Emperor's gaze remained locked on Rylan, unreadable. "Because," he said calmly, "I require the only surviving mechanic capable of fixing a ship older than this empire." Rylan blinked. "Oh. Well. That seems extremely incorrect." The Emperor took a step closer, studying him the way scientists study a probe that exploded unexpectedly. "You are Rylan Ward. Son of Elias Ward. Veteran of the Ancaris Front. Engineer of the Arkwing program." "Yes," Rylan admitted, "but I'm also very talented at sweeping. Some might call it my passion." The Emperor's expression didn't change. "You will fix the ship." Rylan swallowed. "What ship?" "The one that woke up this morning," Salus said. "And it asked for you." Lyra's eyes widened. Rylan's broom slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor. "Asked, for me?" "Yes," the Emperor said. "And we do not deny ancient vessels their requests." Rylan stared, horrified. "Can I at least change out of my janitor uniform?" "No." "Great," he muttered. "I'm going to die in a bleach stain." And with that, the fate he never asked for, one older than the Empire itself, began to pull him forward. Rylan had been escorted through many corridors in his life, military halls, courtrooms, debt offices, and once a very enthusiastic casino security lobby. But nothing compared to being marched through the silent passageways of the Emperor's private docking wing. The walls were dark obsidian alloy, shimmering faintly as if they remembered every conversation ever whispered near them. Rylan tried not to breathe too loudly, in case the walls judged him. Lyra walked beside him, her long ears held tight with tension. The guards didn't speak, which only made Rylan more determined to fill the oppressive quiet. "So," he whispered, "when the Emperor said the ship asked for me, did anyone else feel like running away screaming? Or was that just me?" Lyra gave him a sideways glare, the kind she reserved for moments when he was being particularly human. "The Emperor doesn't exaggerate. If he says the vessel requested you, then it did. Right. Of course. Ancient, possibly haunted ship wants the guy who unclogs fuel drains. Sounds reasonable." One guard cleared his throat. Rylan shut up for approximately 4 seconds. "What if it actually is haunted?" he whispered. "My luck isn't great." I once bought a toaster that tried to unionize. Lyra's lips twitched, but she didn't smile. Not yet. They reached an enormous door reinforced with gravity locks. As it slid open with a deep groan, cold blue light spilled over them. Inside sat the ship. Calling it a ship felt like calling a thunderstorm, slightly damp. It towered above them, suspended in magnetic clamps. Its hull was ancient metal braided with glowing veins of unknown energy. Sharp angles, smooth curves, and strange living patterns shifted along its surface like slow-moving constellations. The vessel radiated a presence, like something old, patient, and mildly irritated had been woken from a nap. Rylan took a step back. Oh good. It's enormous. And glowing. And possibly glaring at me. It does not glare, Lyra said. It observes. It's glaring, Rylan insisted. The Emperor entered behind them, his robes trailing like shadows with opinions. This ship is older than the Empire. Some records suggest it predates the collapse era. Wonderful, Rylan said. I love fixing antiques. Especially ones that can vaporize me. You repaired Arcwing thrusters during wartime, the Emperor said. This task should not exceed your abilities. That was before bankruptcy. Bankruptcy changes a man. Lyra stepped forward, studying the hull as if listening. It's reacting to him, she murmured. The resonance field is shifting. Probably because I'm leaking fear, Rylan said. Machines can smell that. You will enter, the Emperor commanded, pointing toward an access ramp. Rylan looked at the ship, then at Lyra, then at the broom he'd apparently brought with him by accident. Should I leave the broom outside? Or is that my emotional support broom now? Enter, Salus repeated, ignoring him entirely. Rylan approached the ramp, each step feeling like he was volunteering for his own funeral. The closer he got, the more the ship thrummed, a deep vibration that crawled through his chest like a second heartbeat. Inside, the ship's interior was wrong. Not in a bad way, just in a physics has questions way. The corridors seemed to shift depending on where he looked, folding subtly like sheets of metal fabric. Lights pulsed along the walls in rhythmic patterns that felt almost conversational. Rylan whispered. If the ship talks to me, I reserve the right to scream. It won't speak, Lyra said. Not in words. Great. Emotional haunted house. Even better. Lyra followed close behind, her long ears sweeping forward as if sensing vibrations. She placed a hand on the wall, and the metal warmed under her touch. It's recognizing you, she said softly. This feels intimate. Rylan froze. Please phrase it in a way that doesn't imply the ship and I are about to start dating. She blinked. Humans have very strange boundaries. They reached what resembled a control chamber, if control chambers typically hovered, rotated slowly, and rearranged their panels like dancers changing partners mid-step. The pilot's seat floated above a circular platform, wrapped in glowing threads that hummed like distant music. Rylan stared. I'm supposed to sit in that? It looks like it'll either electrocute me or ask for a blood sample. It already asked for your blood, Lyra said. That's why you're here. He spun toward her. What? Well, not literally. It asked for your genetic resonance. Oh, that makes me feel so much better. The Emperor entered behind them. Sit. Rylan swallowed, muttering a prayer to any sympathetic cosmic being listening, and climbed into the floating seat. The moment he touched it, the threads wrapped gently around his arms, not restraining, just sensing. The entire ship lit up. Lyra stepped back, eyes wide. It's happy. The ship is happy. Rylan croaked. It's humming, she said. That's how their kind shows contentment. Their kind? What else am I fixing today, sentient toasters? Suddenly the control chamber brightened. Symbols formed across the walls, circles, lines, fragments of memories displayed through light. A figure appeared in a pulsating projection, a human man. Tall, broad-shouldered. His face was blurred with age, but there was no mistaking the familiarity. Rylan leaned forward, stunned. "That man looks like you," Lyra finished softly. "No," Rylan said. "No, no, no. I don't do destiny. Destiny's expensive." The projection dissolved, replaced with a glowing pulse centered around the pilot seat, centered around him. The Emperor folded his hands. "As you can see, the ship's former pilot shared your genetic line." "Impossible," Rylan muttered. "My family tree is more like a family twig. And it's dead." "Apparently not," Salas said. Lyra watched Rylan closely. "Do you feel anything?" "Yes," he said. "Terror. And regret. And an intense desire to lie down." "You are bonded to the vessel," the Emperor announced. "You will repair it, command it, and uncover what it remembers." "Excellent," Rylan said. "That's exactly what I wanted to do today. Fix an ancient ship with emotional issues while confronting my mysterious past. Perfect use of my janitor's skill set." The ship's lights pulsed warmly, almost affectionately. Lyra stepped closer, her voice softer. "It chose you for a reason." "Yeah," Rylan said. "Bad taste." She finally laughed, a brief, melodic sound that cut through the tension like sunlight breaking into a cave. The Emperor turned toward the exit. "Begin immediately. Time is short." As he left, the chamber dimmed. Rylan slumped back, staring at the glowing symbols swirling around him. "Okay," he whispered. "Ship, buddy, friend, please don't kill me." The lights blinked in what suspiciously looked like amusement. Lyra approached the seat, her long ears tilted forward, eyes softening despite the chaos surrounding them. "Rylan, if this ship truly awakened for you, then your life is about to change." He nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said. "And I didn't even get to finish sweeping." And somewhere deep within the ship's core, a low hum echoed. Less like a machine and more like something alive, waking after centuries, pleased with the mechanic fate had dragged back to it. Rylan woke the next morning to the gentle sound of humming, except it wasn't morning, and he wasn't asleep, and the humming wasn't gentle. It vibrated through the ship's walls in waves, like someone had fed a star into an amplifier. He groaned, rubbing his eyes as he remained strapped into the floating pilot's seat, which had apparently decided to cradle him through the night like an overprotective hoverchair. "This is not normal behavior," he muttered. "Even by ancient sentient ship standards." Lyra stood nearby, arms crossed, her long ears angled forward as she listened to the resonant strokes rippling through the chamber. She looked entirely too awake for someone who had spent the last 16 hours inside a ship with a man who talked in his sleep. "It's singing," she said, tilting her head. Loudly. "It's screaming," Rylan corrected. "If ships had lungs, this one would have woken the sector." "You're overreacting." She vibrated my spleen. "The ship doesn't know where your spleen is." "You say, doesn't know, I say, is looking." The lights along the walls flickered in a pulsing pattern that Lyra recognized instantly. "It wants you to move," she said. "Or do something. Define something." "It doesn't know," she admitted. "It's excited. Childlike." Rylan pointed a finger at the center console. "Hey. No childlike behavior until I've had caffeine." The ship dimmed for a moment, and Lyra's eyebrows lifted. It understood that. No, it didn't. Yes, it did. "Look." She touched a panel. The panel warmed instantly, glowing beneath her hand. "It's responding to emotional cues. When you speak with annoyance, it quiets. When you speak with confidence, it brightens. That's extremely rare." "It's extremely creepy," he said. A set of symbols formed along the walls, circles overlapping like a diagram drawn by a drunk mathematician. Lyra traced her finger along one of them, her expression tightening. "These are memory prompts," she said. "The ship is trying to show you something." A ripple of energy flowed from the walls to the pilot's seat, lifting Rylan slightly as a projection flickered to life, an image of the same man from before, the pilot who resembled him. But this time the details were sharper. The man stood aboard a battlefield, distant stars collapsing behind him, ships burning in storms of plasma fire. He spoke something too faint to hear, but his face, it was almost peaceful. Rylan stiffened. I don't want to see this." Lyra placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to." But the ship pulsed insistently, projecting another memory, this time a woman's voice calling out to the pilot, her silhouette obscured by light. Rylan looked away. "Stop. Stop showing me people I don't know." The ship dimmed again, almost apologetically. Lyra stepped in front of him, blocking the projection. "If you don't want to see your past, then don't. But you must acknowledge something, this ship woke because of you. It resonated to your presence. You are connected." "I'm connected to bad decisions," he said. "That's about it." She gave him a look that said she wasn't fooled. Her voice softened. "You're terrified. I'm appropriately cautious." "You're terrified." "Okay, fine, I'm terrified." "Happy?" "A bit." The ship brightened, as if amused. Rylan leaned back into the seat and exhaled. "Look. I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to sweep floors." "Floors don't show you holograms of men who look like your dad's evil twin." "What do you want now?" Lyra asked. "I want breakfast. That is, disappointingly simple. I'm a simple man. With a simple wish not to be vaporized by ancient technology." She smirked. "You're not going to be vaporized. You can't guarantee that. This ship feels like a sentient thunderstorm." As if offended, the ship made a sharp buzzing sound. "Relax," Lyra murmured to it. "He's fragile." "I am not fragile." "You screamed at dust in the hangar," she reminded him. "That dust started it." Before they could continue the debate, a metallic rumble echoed from deeper in the vessel, a sound like a mechanical throat clearing. Then the far wall split open, revealing a corridor they had not seen before. The Emperor's voice crackled on the comm system. "Rylan Ward. The ship is changing configuration." "No kidding," Rylan said. "Next it's going to ask for curtains." "Proceed deeper," Salas commanded. "Its awakening is accelerating." Lyra gestured for Rylan to follow. "Come." "It won't open pathways for anyone else." "That's not comforting." "You get used to it." "No, I won't," Rylan promised. They walked through the shifting passageway. The air smelled faintly metallic, like ozone mixed with old memory. Panels adjusted as they passed, lighting in soft waves, as if the ship was guiding them somewhere specific. "This is weird," Rylan whispered. "It's sacred," Lyra corrected. "This vessel is older than every starship class we know. It likely saw battles we thought were myth. I prefer myths to stay mythical." They reached a chamber shaped like a sphere, its walls covered in swirling energy veins. At the center hovered a core, drifting like a suspended heart. "It's a memory nexus," Lyra breathed. "This is where the ship stores everything it has ever witnessed." The core pulsed, sending out a wave that washed over Rylan like a warm wind. For a moment, he felt seen. Recognized. Welcomed. Rylan swallowed hard. "Why does it feel like it knows me better than I know myself?" "Because it does," Lyra said softly. "Ships like this bond with one bloodline. You are descended from its last pilot. That makes you family." "I can barely handle my actual family," he said. Now I have a ship for a cousin. The core pulsed again, this time brighter, quicker. Lyra's ears lifted. It's excited. It wants to show you something big. No, Ryland said immediately. Last time it showed something, it was traumatic holograms and emotional manipulation. You are very dramatic. I'm emotionally responsible. You're hiding. I'm alive because I hide. Before Lyra could reply, the Nexus lit up with blazing clarity. Panels unfolded like petals, revealing a projection that filled the entire room, a star map. But not a normal one. Entire sectors were missing, cut out, erased, as if wiped from existence. What is this? Ryland whispered. Lyra's expression shifted from curiosity to dread. These are the fallen regions. Places we believed destroyed during the collapse. But they're still here, Ryland said. Just, hidden. No, she said slowly. Not hidden. Locked away. Symbols formed around the map, coordinates, access codes, warnings in languages older than the Empire. The ship pulsed once more, and its intent became unmistakable. It wants us to find something, Lyra whispered. Ryland frowned. What could possibly be worth waking up after all this time? Lyra turned toward him, the pale glow of the Nexus reflecting in her eyes. A secret the Emperor has feared for generations. Ryland groaned. Great. Perfect. I knew my day wasn't going to end with breakfast. The core pulsed again, brighter than ever. And the ship whispered, not in words, but in a feeling. Hurry. Ryland looked at Lyra. Lyra looked at him. And the galaxy suddenly felt much bigger, and much more dangerous than either of them had ever imagined. Ryland had expected many things when he woke up that morning. Well, no, he hadn't expected anything, since expectations were a luxury he'd stopped affording, but he definitely hadn't expected firefights inside the Emperor's hangar. Yet that was precisely what greeted him as he stepped out of the ship with Lyra. Plasma bolts streaking overhead, alarms shrieking, soldiers shouting, and one terrified maintenance droid rolling in circles screaming, I was not built for this. Ryland ducked as a bright bolt sizzled past his ear. Okay. Nope. Absolutely not. Who let Monday happen? Lyra pulled him behind a crate as another shot scorched the floor, her long ears pressed flat with tension. Imperial dissenters, she said. Factions opposed to the Emperor's rule. They've discovered the ship awakened. Great, Ryland gasped. Can we unawaken it? Maybe put it back to sleep with a warm blanket and a story about boring political stability? That's not how ancient vessels work. Figures. The hangar shook as a blast hit one of the support beams. Ryland peeked over the crate just in time to see a group of armored rebels advancing toward the ship, their weapons glowing with illegal modifications, black market tech, full of unstable energy. We can't let them near it, Lyra said. If they capture the ship. They won't, Ryland interrupted, then immediately regretted sounding brave because bravery usually ended with injuries and medical bills he couldn't pay. One of the rebels spotted them and fired. Ryland shrieked and ducked so fast he cracked his knee on the crate. Lyra placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. You scream a lot for a war veteran. I scream strategically. That's not a thing. It is when it keeps you alive. She pulled out a sleek silver device that hummed with sharp, focused energy, a Veyan resonance blade, elegant and deadly. Ryland stared at it. Oh good. You brought a laser sword. Fantastic. Meanwhile, I have a wrench and emotional baggage. You can defend yourself, she said. With what? My crippling debt. Another blast rocked the floor. The rebels were closing in. Lyra grabbed Ryland's wrist and pulled him toward the ship. The vessel opened itself for you once. It may do it again. Ryland barely had time to respond before the ancient starship pulsed, a deep, resonant echo that washed through the hangar like a shockwave. The glow along its hull intensified, and the access ramp unfurled on its own, shimmering like a giant, welcoming tongue of metal. The rebels froze. Rylan whispered, "Please tell me it didn't do that because it missed me." "It likes you," Lyra said. "It needs therapy." She shoved him toward the ramp. "Inside. Now." They sprinted up the ramp as plasma fire intensified behind them. The ship sealed its doors the moment they stepped inside, plunging them into the pulsing, living glow of its interior. Rylan collapsed against the wall, panting. Okay. Okay. I knew this was coming. I absolutely did not know this was coming. Lyra listened closely as the ship vibrated, the deep hum now carrying urgency. "It wants you in the pilot's seat. It also wants me dead. Those rebels were trying to kill me." "No," she said. "They were trying to capture you." "Oh good. Much better." But the ship pulsed again, this time more sharply. "It's warning us," Lyra realized. "They're trying to breach the hull." "How?" "This thing is older than their entire rebellion." "Ancient doesn't mean invincible." Rylan groaned. "I hate it here." They reached the pilot chamber, where the floating seat opened like a welcoming embrace. Rylan pointed at it. "No." The ship pulsed. "No," he repeated. The ship pulsed louder. "Fine," he snapped. "I'm sitting. But only because you're being pushy." He dropped into the seat, and the glowing threads wrapped around his arms and chest. Lyra slid into the co-pilot conduit, placing her hand on the neural interface. The entire chamber lit up in a cascade of gold, blue, and white. Symbols appeared across the walls, faster than before, sharper. "It wants to lift off," Lyra said. "Into a hangar full of people shooting at us." Rylan protested. "Fantastic idea. Brilliant." The ship ignored his sarcasm, engines warming with a deep, thunderous thrum that shook the entire structure. Outside, through the shifting hollow panels, he could see the rebels clustering around the hangar floor. "Can I just point out," Rylan muttered, "that I did not sign up to drive anything this ancient or this cranky?" "Fly," Lyra corrected. "It wants you to fly it." The ship rose from its clamps. The hangar erupted with panic as the vessel hovered, pulsing brighter and brighter. Rylan clutched the armrests. "How do I steer?" "You don't," Lyra said. "It responds to instinct." "Instinct?" "My instincts tell me to curl into a ball and cry." The ship tilted, dramatically. "Wait, wait, wait, no wrong instinct." A blast hit the hangar ceiling as the rebels panicked and opened fire on the underside of the ship. Rylan yelped. "Get us out! Get us out!" Lyra focused, pressing her palm to the interface. "Breathe, Rylan. Let it feel your intention." "My intention is not to die." "That's good. Start there." The ship surged upward. With a deafening boom, it burst through the hangar shield and into the open air above Corval 3. Storm clouds spread beneath them, glowing with reactor dust and mining haze. Rylan swallowed hard. "Okay. We're alive. I think. I can't feel my legs, but that seems normal." "It worked," Lyra said, her voice filled with awe. "It truly bonded with you." "Wonderful," Rylan said. "I always wanted a flying death trap as a close personal friend." The ship suddenly angled toward the upper atmosphere. "Where is it taking us?" Rylan asked. Lyra studied the rapidly appearing star charts across the walls. "Somewhere important. Somewhere it remembers." Rylan groaned. "I was hoping it wanted ice cream." "It doesn't eat. It could learn." A harsh alarm cut through their banter. Rylan snapped upright. "What now?" Lyra stared at the readings, her expression turning sharp. We're being followed. On the holoscreen behind them, 3 rebel pursuit ships emerged from the clouds, their engines blazing. Oh great, Rylan muttered. Space terrorists. My favorite. They're accelerating, Lyra said. Preparing weapons. Rylan clutched the controls even though they didn't matter. Ship. Buddy. Pal. Can we go faster? The ship pulsed once. Then the stars stretched. Rylan screamed. Lyra braced. The ancient vessel folded into a shimmering tunnel of light, its long-forgotten engine roaring back to life, and in a single breath, they leapt far beyond Corval, 3. Far beyond the Empire. Far beyond everything Rylan had ever imagined his janitor life would include. When the light faded, they drifted in the silence of deep space, surrounded by unfamiliar constellations. Rylan exhaled shakily. Okay, so, we just teleported. Folded, Lyra corrected. Folded what? Space. Space should not fold. It's not laundry. But the ship pulsed again, brighter than ever. And this time, Lyra's face went pale. Rylan, it brought us to one of the fallen regions. Rylan stared. No, he said. No, no, no. I'm a janitor. A floor sweeper. I don't go to mythical ghost sectors. The ship hummed with unmistakable certainty. It had brought them exactly where it wanted them to be. The fallen region was quiet in the way abandoned places always were, too still, too expectant, like the stars themselves were holding their breath. Rylan had never been this far from anything familiar, and the unsettling silence made him wish he'd brought a second emotional support broom. Lyra stood beside him, her long ears angled forward as she studied the swirling mists outside the viewport, ancient debris drifting like dust in a forgotten attic. What exactly are we looking for? Rylan asked, gripping the armrests as if steadying himself against destiny itself. The ship knows, Lyra said. It remembers what was lost here. It wants to reveal the truth. That's great. Fantastic. I love truth. Especially when it involves mythical dead zones and possibly cosmic nightmares. A soft pulse echoed through the ship, as if urging him forward. He touched the control panel, and a projection bloomed into view, this time sharper, clearer. The ancient pilot appeared again, the man whose features hinted at Rylan's lineage. Behind him, fleets burned in the void, and the pilot placed a hand on the core of the ship as if sealing a promise. The image shifted to a planet, lush, thriving, then swallowed by a wave of energy that erased entire continents. It wasn't destruction. It was displacement. The planet flickered out of existence like a candle extinguished by an unseen hand. Rylan felt a cold shiver crawl down his spine. That wasn't natural. No, Lyra whispered. That was a stasis barrier. Someone hit an entire world. The ship pulsed again, projecting a symbol, coordinates hidden within the fallen region. Rylan swallowed. So the ship brought us here to unhide it? That is, one possibility, Lyra said carefully. I really hate your careful voice, Rylan muttered. It's better than my panicked one. Debatable. The ship tilted slowly, gliding through the drifting debris until a massive distortion shimmered in the darkness ahead. Like a curtain made of fractured light, the barrier rippled when the ship approached. It wants through, Lyra said. Rylan raised a hand. Wait, wait. What if going through activates a trap? Or triggers a paradox? Or leads to a dimension where chairs are sentient and angry? That is unlikely. Define unlikely. Low probability. How low? Not zero. My whole life is not zero risks. But the ship ignored his anxiety and pushed forward. The barrier parted like water around a stone. When they emerged on the other side, Rylan's jaw dropped. Before them floated a planet, alive, green, humming with energy. Cities glowed along its surface like constellations. Atmospheric rings shimmered with stabilized quantum fields. It's, Lyra breathed. Intact. Preserved. A whole civilization, frozen in time. Ryland stared. Someone hit an entire world and then forgot to leave a note. The ship projected one last memory. The ancient pilot appeared again, older this time, weary. He stood before the emperor of his era and pleaded with him, words unreadable but clear in emotion: protect, preserve, wait. Ryland felt the meaning settle into him. The fallen region wasn't destroyed. It was sacrificed. His ancestor had sealed the world to stop a catastrophic civil war, one that would have fractured the empire beyond repair. He hid the entire planet until the empire was stable enough to handle the truth. And now the ship believed that time had come. Ryland rubbed his face. So let me get this straight. My long-lost genetic cousin sealed a whole planet in a cosmic storage locker, and now I'm the guy who has to return the key. That is an accurate summary, Lyra said. I want a refund on my ancestry, he groaned. But before they could discuss further, alarms blared, sharp and merciless. Ryland spun around. Rebel ships had followed them through the barrier, their weapons glowing with unstable energy. Oh come on, Ryland shouted. Did they have to ruin everything? We found a secret planet. Let us have one win. They're preparing to fire on the barrier, Lyra said. If they destabilize it, the preservation field will collapse. Meaning? The planet. And its people, will be annihilated. Ryland tightened his grip on the controls. Not today. The ship responded instantly, surging forward like a beast awakened. Ryland felt it sinking with his instincts, reading his fear, determination, and stubborn refusal to let history repeat itself. Lyra placed a hand on the interface beside him. You're controlling it better. No, he said. It's listening better. The rebel ships opened fire. Ryland dodged with a maneuver he hadn't performed since the war, a tight spiral dive through debris that made Lyra's ears fly back. You're insane, she yelled. Probably. They weaved between plasma bolts as the ship's ancient weapons activated, sleek beams of condensed energy that cut through rebel shields like paper. But the rebels pressed on, firing wildly. If they hit the barrier, Lyra started. They won't, Ryland said. You can't guarantee. They won't. And for the first time, he truly believed it. The ship pulsed, feeding off his certainty, gaining strength. Energy surged from the core, forming a shimmering wave that expanded outward. The rebels scattered too late. The wave struck their engines, disabling them without destroying them, sending their ships drifting harmlessly away. Lyra stared. That wasn't an attack. That was mercy. Yeah, Ryland said. I'm full of surprises. The ship slowed, hovering once more before the hidden world. It projected one final symbol, release. Lyra stepped closer. It wants you to deactivate the stasis. Ryland hesitated. What if the Emperor isn't ready? What if history repeats itself? She took his hand, her long ears tilting softly. Maybe the ship didn't choose the Emperor. Maybe it chose you because you're the one who wouldn't repeat their mistakes. Ryland swallowed. No pressure. He placed his palm on the control matrix. The ship glowed. The barrier flickered. Then, with a sound like a sigh from the fabric of space, the stasis dissolved. The planet breathed again. Lights brightened. Energy surged. A world lost to time awakened. A transmission burst through their comms, confused, hopeful, alive. Ryland leaned back, overwhelmed. I just unhid a planet. You restored a people, Lyra said. And probably ruined my quiet life. You didn't like your quiet life. He laughed, knowing she was right. The ship hummed warmly, as if in agreement. When they returned to Imperial space, the Emperor awaited them. Instead of punishment or suspicion, he bowed his head slightly, a gesture Rylan never imagined receiving. "You have restored what we lost," Salus said. "The Empire owes you a debt beyond measure." Rylan scratched the back of his neck. "Can the Empire pay my bankruptcy fees?" "Yes," the Emperor said simply. "Great," Rylan said. "I accept." Lyra laughed, for the first time without restraint. And when the Emperor offered Rylan a command position over the ancient ship, he didn't hesitate. He wasn't a janitor anymore. He wasn't a failure. He wasn't a man defined by loss. He was the pilot of a vessel older than empires, the rediscoverer of a hidden world, the inheritor of a legacy he never asked for but now understood. And as the ship pulsed softly behind him, and Lyra took her place at his side, Rylan realized something else. For the first time in years, he wasn't afraid of the future. He was ready for it.